That would just work. Well, hello, my name is Steve O'Nyans, and in this video I'll give you the top 5 reasons why I still shoot with film. Number 1, I like the look of film. Film has a different feel, a different characteristic to digital. It's not better, it's grainier, it's got a bit more noise to it, it's sometimes more fickle, but that's what I like about it. It feels organic, it feels real. It's an analog product in a digital world. It's less sharp, less clean. Somehow it's the medium where I feel I connect with my type of photography, which is landscape work. I enjoy the actual process of capturing images on film. They look different when you process them. I use a hybrid workflow. I use Lightroom, I use Photoshop. So I'm not a Luddite. I don't dislike digital processes. I've given up the darkroom many years ago. I think the digital workflow is better. So I like the way it appears to me. I like the rendition. When I'm working with colour, I like the soft colours of colour print film, the negative films. And when I'm working with the slide films, the vibrant, rich Velvias and the subdued Provias, they suit my way of seeing things. With black and white, I go for a more grainy, a more gritty, a more textured look. I've got HP5+. If I want to shoot more detail and fine grain, I have the likes of Acros, or I can use Pan F. If I want to shoot something with a lot of mood and a lot of grain, I can go for an infrared film. And although I can simulate these things in a digital workflow and take my digital raw files and process them to look a bit like film, to me they don't quite capture the same mood and emotion. They look like a digital file which has been manipulated to look like film, and that's not what I'm after. So that's the first reason why I like film. I just enjoy the look of it. So number two is film cameras. I absolutely adore film cameras. Film cameras are simpler and far fewer controls than a digital camera. I mean, look at this Bronica, my workhorse, for example. This thing has focus, shutter speed and aperture. That's all it's got. It's all I have to concentrate on. Very, very simple and straightforward. I also like the solidity, the build quality of a lot of these old cameras. A lot of metal involved in them. Leather, brass, proper materials. Really solid and well built. And built to last as well, because these things weren't changing as often as digital cameras. The fewer parts, no electronics very often, although a Bronica has a battery just to control the shutter. I very rarely have to worry about charging things up before I go out. Yeah, there are exceptions to the rule, like Holgers, which are made of the same sort of plastic as a yogurt pot, but it's still very simple and straightforward. On this one, all I do is press the shutter. Fantastic. And typically as well, with my film cameras, I tend to work with prime lenses. So on the likes of the Bronica, I have typically just 3 lenses I take with me. This is my 80mm, no it's not, it's my 150mm, it's my short telephoto lens. Now this is sharp, corner to corner at every aperture. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's highly corrected. I don't rely on software to fix things. It's superb, it's pin sharp. It's designed for a world where you couldn't fix things in Lightroom or Photoshop later. So when I go out with these lenses, I don't have to worry about the best apertures. They just work for me. So yeah, I love film cameras. Right, reason number 3 why I like shooting with film. It slows you down. It makes you think far more about what you're doing when you're taking a shot. And it slows you down for a number of reasons. The first is it costs you, every single time you press that shutter button, it's going to cost you money. Depending on the size of the film or the type of film, it could be 20-30 pence a frame for 35mm, or it could be something upwards of 20 to 25 pounds for 8x10. So you're not going to go rattling things off in the same way that you might do with digital. So that's slowing you down because that's always in the back of your mind about the financial drain. The other thing as well is you don't get that instant feedback that you do with digital. Now that's always been seen as a huge advantage, and it is in many cases. I think if I was shooting street photography or I was a press photographer, I'd want to know if I've got the shot straight away. But when I'm shooting film, and particularly landscape, I tend to take so much time preparing the composition lining things up, getting the elements in the right position, making tiny adjustments, that I'm pretty confident when I come to press that shutter button that I've actually captured what I want on the sheet of film. So I'm prepared to invest the time and effort and take fewer shots. Now, fewer shots means less editing later, and I liked that. I don't want to spend my time in Lightroom cutting down 500 images. And believe you me, when I go out and shoot digital, I can easily take 500 images in just a few hours. And then I've got the pain of going through them, wondering which is the most sharp, which has got the best balance. I don't want to do that. So if I see a composition, I like to work on it. I like to take my time and come back with just a handful of shots. And the keeper rate is higher. The keeper rate for my film shooting is probably something like about 50-50 for 4x5, probably about 30-40% for my medium format work, maybe 20% for the smaller format. And in 8x10, so far I've only been out a couple of times with it, it's 100% because I have to take so long to get it right. So slowing down for me is a good thing. Okay, number four, experimentation and happy accidents. Now, when you go out and shoot in a landscape environment, you are typically trying to get the very best image you can. You have an idea of the detail levels you would like and the way that the image will look in the end. And to that end, digital is fantastic, absolutely superb. You've got the feedback loop, seeing on the back of the LCD, reviewing the images, refining the images. But for me, it means that you don't always experiment. You might think I'll come back and process it a bit different, but typically you don't. The detail's there. You don't want to throw it away. You want to get as much out of it as possible, make it look as sharp and as clean as possible. But with film, I like to experiment. I mean, you may have seen some of my earlier videos where I go out with pinhole cameras and infrared cameras and play about, basically. I actually don't know what I'm coming back with. They're not something I've set up beforehand. These are the actual results on the day. So you're seeing pretty much what I captured. I'm not modifying it and making it look good. I'm not pretending I've shot it before. Usually it's the first time I've done it. So I have this desire to go out and try different things, and by trying different things it keeps my mind open to other possibilities. Now film cameras are great for that, because you go out, you point your pinhole at something, or you take your Holga, which has got one shutter speed, and then you focus it with a little person, two people, a group of people, or a mountain, and sometimes you get it wrong. Sometimes you forget to focus it, and sometimes you press the shutter button twice and you end up with multiple exposures, and you think that would ruin it, but you get them back and you develop them and you scan them in and you think, fantastic, that's something completely different. That's something I never expected to get, and maybe it's going to lead to a different style. Maybe it's going to be something I can pursue in the future. I mean, when I used to work in the darkroom, there was a process called solarization where the paper is exposed to light at the wrong point, and it creates a beautiful split effect on the image. And this was used extensively by some of the great masters like Man Ray in the earlier part of the last century. And if people didn't try these things, if people didn't make mistakes, then some of the great techniques and the great processes may never have been discovered. So I like to try different things out, and I'm not going to stop trying different things out. I have plans to go out with big pinhole cameras, panoramic cameras. I made a panoramic camera and shot some 6x12s. I made it out of a plastic Holga body about 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm going to make one of those again because I like the look of the images. It's something that it encourages you to go out and try and do and be creative. And photography, I believe, is an art form. It's not just a craft, although there's elements of technical ability in there. But by having these happy accidents, by making these mistakes, by trying different things out, it could well lead to a new branch which sends you off in a direction and inspires your photography for years to come. Right, that's finally bringing us to section 5. I mean, I could go on forever and I'll probably do another video, do my top 30 things I like about film cameras. But anyway, section 5, a static technology and a technology you can master. And one of the most frustrating things I find about modern life in general, because I'm getting old and grumpy, is that things change rapidly, and you think you've mastered something. You think, I've got on top of the how to use a remote control, or how the smart TV works, or how my latest digital camera works, and then they go and change this stupid thing. They either change the interface, or they download some software and they kill it, so you've got to upgrade. Thank you, Apple. And yeah, you're stuck then with this endless cycle of upgrade and having to relearn. Now, there's benefits to that as well, obviously. Lightroom and Photoshop and all the other software products are getting better and better. But just when you think you've mastered it, it changes. And something you may have used for 3 or 4 years with great success, I mean, I'm typically thinking of things like printing here, they go mess about with your drivers, or they go and change some parameter, the way it handles things. And it screws things up for you, and your workflow suffers, and you have to then relearn it, or you bemoan the loss of some feature or something you liked about your previous cameras that they just don't support anymore. Now, film and film cameras aren't evolving, and they're just not going to evolve in the future. They are pretty much set in stone now, and if I go out and shoot with my Nikon 35mm SLRs, they are dating back at least 20 years. Some of them date back 40 years. I was using them 30 years ago, some of them, the same camera. I even have somewhere tucked away, I'll actually try and find it. I have somewhere tucked away my, sorry, just bear with me for a minute. Tucked away my original Nikon, found it. Nikon F301. Now, I'll be fair, it's not the original one, I rebought this, but I do have the original lens that I got in 1986 when I started photography. Now, this was pretty much consumer camera of its time, and it still works exactly the same today. You put 4 batteries in it, you put a lens on it, and you fire away. It takes images. Shutter speed, yeah, film speed, fantastic, it still works. Still use it, by the way, as well. How many things can you say in the modern age that are going to last 30 years? They're not. So you can master it, and you can also master film. I mean, this stuff, HP5 Plus, Ilford, came out in about 1990, and I was actually working at Ilford at the time. I remember them doing the artwork for it in the team next to me, the department next to me, and it replaced HP5, which came out about 20 years before that. Pretty much similar, just slightly improved. So if you learn how to develop and process your films and how to get the best out of them and how to maximize the characteristics you like, then you can keep doing that for years and years and years. It's not going to change. I mean, at the moment I'm using Kodak HC110 Developer. Now, Ansel Adams was using that, you know, probably when he was a lad. So you can get the benefit of all those years of experience and other people's experience and build on that. I go out with HP5 Plus, I know what I'm going to get. I love the look of it, and I can tweak it depending on the type of light or the time of year and the dilution of the chemicals, and it's not changing much. I mean, they may change formulas slightly, but I can't detect it. HP5 Plus is nearly 30 years old, and long may it continue that way. I don't want it to be changed. So it's something I can master, and it's nice to be in charge of something in your life, something you can control and look after and nurture. So I like the fact that film photography isn't progressing. Seems odd, but that's the truth. So anyway, there's my top 5 reasons for shooting film and using film cameras. I do hope you enjoyed it. This is a bit of a departure from me normally yomping around the Lake District in Wales getting wet or slipping off things or trashing my equipment. And I would like to make more videos about why I shoot film and why I do what I do and how I do it as well, like scanning, developing film, my workflow, and like the equipment I use. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been pretty enjoyable for me, sitting in my office talking to myself with the cats. Yeah, being very well behaved. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.